The USB revealed a secret that was never supposed to exist. Mina finally learned that her father had once stood inside Westbridge High, arguing with Principal Kim. But before she could replay the recording, the file erased itself forever. Now only one person might know the rest of the truth: Ethan. But when Mina arrived at school the next morning, he was gone. His classroom seat was empty. His phone was turned off. No one had seen him since the night he handed Mina the memory card. Teachers called it an unexcused absence. Students called it a coincidence. Mina knew better. Then, during lunch, her phone vibrated. An unknown number had sent a single message: "Stop looking for Ethan unless you want to disappear too." Part 1: The Missing Witness. The anonymous message haunted Mina all morning. "Stop looking for Ethan unless you want to disappear too." She read it over and over again. Every instinct told her it wasn't a prank. Someone knew Ethan had helped her. Someone knew about the memory card. And now, Ethan had vanished. The morning bell echoed across Westbridge High. Students filled the hallways, laughing and talking as if nothing unusual had happened. But the atmosphere felt different. The rumors had changed. No one was talking about the viral paint incident anymore. Instead, one question spread through every classroom: "Where's Ethan?" Some students barely noticed his absence. Others whispered that he had transferred schools. A few claimed they had seen him leaving campus late the previous evening. Every story was different. None of them made sense. Mina walked into her classroom and instinctively looked toward Ethan's desk. It was empty. His backpack was gone. His books had disappeared. Even the small black notebook he always carried was nowhere to be seen. Their homeroom teacher glanced around the room. "Has anyone heard from Ethan Reed?" Silence. "If anyone speaks to him, tell him to contact the school immediately." She continued taking attendance as though it were an ordinary absence. But Mina couldn't focus. Ethan wasn't the kind of student who skipped school. He always arrived early, always sat in the same seat, always left quietly after class. For him to disappear overnight, something was terribly wrong. During the first break, Mina hurried into the hallway. Ryan was already waiting near the staircase. "You got the message too." Mina stopped. "What message?" Ryan pulled out his phone. A screenshot filled the screen. "Stay away from Mina. This is your only warning." Mina's eyes widened. "You received one too?" Ryan nodded grimly. "About 30 minutes ago. They're watching both of us." Before either of them could say another word, Hana ran toward them. She was breathing hard. "I've been looking everywhere for you." "What happened?" Hana looked around to make sure no one was listening. "I went to Ethan's locker." Ryan frowned. "Why?" "I thought maybe he'd left a note." Her expression darkened. "You need to see it." The three of them hurried toward the senior hallway. Ethan's locker stood near the end of the corridor. At first glance, everything looked perfectly normal, but Hana pointed at the small scratch marks around the lock. It was forced open. Ryan leaned closer. The metal around the latch had been bent inward. Someone hadn't used the combination. They had broken it. Ryan slowly pulled the locker door open. It was completely empty. Not just his books. Everything. His notebooks. His school ID. His sports uniform. Even the family photo that Ethan had taped inside the locker door was gone. It looked as though Ethan had never attended Westbridge High. Mina quietly whispered, "This wasn't Ethan." Ryan nodded. He would never clean out his locker without telling anyone. Hana pointed toward the bottom corner. Wait. There. Hidden beneath a loose piece of metal was something small. Ryan carefully reached inside. His fingers closed around a cold piece of brass. He slowly pulled it out. An old-fashioned key. Unlike modern classroom keys, it was made of heavy metal and covered in scratches. A faded engraving was stamped onto one side. A17. The three of them stared at it. What does A17 mean? Mina asked. Ryan turned the key over. No idea. But Ethan hid it. That means it mattered. Before they could investigate further, footsteps echoed behind them. Principal Kim approached with two members of the school staff. The moment she noticed the open locker, she stopped. What are you three doing? Ryan answered calmly. We were looking for Ethan. Principal Kim's expression remained composed. The school is already handling the situation. You should return to class. Mina gathered the courage to ask, Do you know where he is? For a brief moment, something changed in Principal Kim's eyes. It was gone almost instantly. I'm afraid I don't, but I'm sure he'll contact us soon. She smiled politely. Please don't spread unnecessary rumors. As she walked away, Ryan watched her carefully. Did you see that? What? When you mentioned Ethan. For just a second. She looked scared. From the second-floor balcony overlooking the hallway, a figure dressed in a dark hoodie silently watched the conversation below. Their face was hidden beneath the hood. They held a camera fitted with a long lens. Click. Another photograph. Click. This time, the picture captured the brass key resting in Ryan's hand. The mysterious figure lowered the camera, then quietly spoke into a wireless earpiece. They found A17. A distorted voice answered immediately, so Ethan managed to hide it. What are your orders? There was a brief pause. Then the reply came. Recover the key before they discover what it opens. The figure slipped the camera into a backpack and disappeared into the crowded hallway without anyone noticing. The final bell before lunch echoed through the building. Ryan slipped the brass key into his pocket. We can't tell anyone about this. Hana nodded, especially not the teachers. Mina looked toward Ethan's empty classroom one last time. If Ethan left us this key, he wanted us to find something. Ryan tightened his grip on the key. Then after school, we're going to find out exactly what A17 means. None of them noticed the security camera above the hallway. Its red recording light blinked steadily. Somewhere else in the school, someone was already watching them. Part 2, Room A17. The final bell echoed through Westbridge High. Most students hurried toward the parking lot, eager to leave after another long day. But Mina, Ryan, and Hana walked in the opposite direction. Ryan glanced around the nearly empty hallway before pulling the old brass key from his pocket. The engraved letters caught the fading afternoon light. A17. So, Hana whispered, where do we even start? Ryan thought for a moment. Westbridge has 4 academic buildings. If there's an A17, it's probably in the oldest one. Mina looked toward the abandoned east wing of the campus. The building had been closed for years after a renovation. Hardly any students ever went there. For some reason, she couldn't stop staring at it. I think it's there. The old building felt different from the rest of the school. The polished marble floors were gone. Instead, cracked tiles echoed beneath their footsteps. Dust floated through broken windows. The air smelled old, almost forgotten. Rows of empty classrooms lined the hallway. Every classroom door was marked with faded numbers. A03, A07, A11. The numbers continued. Finally, they stopped. A rusted metal plate hung loosely beside an old wooden door. A17. Hana smiled nervously. So, it actually exists. Ryan stepped forward. He carefully inserted the brass key into the ancient lock. For one long second, nothing happened. Then, click, the lock turned. The heavy wooden door slowly creaked open. A cold gust of air drifted out from the darkness. The room hadn't been opened in years. Ryan switched on the flashlight on his phone. The narrow beam revealed shelves covered with thick layers of dust, broken desks, old filing cabinets, cardboard archive boxes stacked almost to the ceiling. Everything inside the room looked frozen in time. "This isn't a classroom," Mina whispered. "It's an archive." On the far wall, a faded brass plaque caught Ryan's attention. He brushed away decades of dust. The engraved words slowly became visible. Westbridge Student Archives. Restricted access. Authorized personnel only. The three exchanged uneasy glances. "If Ethan hid the key here," Hana said quietly, "he wanted someone to find these files." Mina slowly walked toward the nearest cabinet. Each drawer was labeled by year. One drawer was different. It had no year. Only a single word. "Confidential." Ryan tried pulling it open. It wouldn't move. "It's locked." He inserted the brass key again. Another soft click echoed through the silent room. The drawer slid open. Inside were dozens of thick folders. Unlike the ordinary student records, every folder carried a red stamp. Sealed. Mina's heartbeat quickened. It looked exactly like the file she had seen in the underground archive from the mysterious USB recording. Hana carefully picked up the first folder. It was empty. The second, empty. The third, also empty. Someone had removed nearly every document. Only one folder remained. Its cover was faded with age. Across the front, handwritten in black ink, were two words: Project ASTER. Ryan frowned. Project ASTER? I've never heard of it. Neither had Hana. Mina slowly opened the folder. Inside was a single photograph. The picture looked nearly 20 years old. Three adults stood outside Westbridge High. One was unmistakable. A much younger Principal Kim. Standing beside her, Mina's father. He looked almost exactly as she remembered, smiling, relaxed, as if nothing terrible had ever happened. But there was someone else in the photograph, a tall man wearing a gray suit. His face had been scratched away with something sharp. Only his body remained visible. Hana looked closer. Someone wanted to erase him. Ryan turned the photo over. Something had been written on the back. Project ASTER. Phase 1. June 12th. No year. No explanation. Only those 4 words. Mina continued searching inside the folder. A folded sheet of paper slipped onto the dusty floor. She picked it up carefully. Most of the document had faded with time. Only a few sentences could still be read. Candidate approved. Subject transferred. Identity protected. The final line had been completely blacked out with thick permanent marker. Ryan's voice became unusually quiet. This wasn't a school project. No. Mina agreed. It sounds like... She hesitated. Someone was hiding children. The room fell silent. No one wanted to say the thought that had entered all of their minds. Then, a faint metallic sound echoed somewhere beyond the room. Clang. All 3 froze. Hana looked toward the hallway. "Did you hear that?" Ryan slowly turned off his phone flashlight. The room plunged into darkness. Only a narrow strip of evening sunlight entered through a cracked window. Another sound. This time, closer. Footsteps. Slow. Steady. Someone was walking down the hallway outside. Ryan lowered his voice. "We're not alone." Mina quickly slipped the photograph and faded document into her backpack. "What do we do?" Ryan looked toward the old filing cabinets. The three of them quietly crouched behind a row of rusted metal shelves. The footsteps stopped directly outside room A17. Silence. Then, the old door slowly creaked open. A bright flashlight beam cut through the darkness. Someone had entered the archive. The beam moved slowly across the room. Searching. Waiting. The mysterious figure took one careful step forward. Then another. A low voice broke the silence. Almost a whisper. They were here. Mina held her breath. The stranger walked toward the open confidential drawer. The flashlight stopped. Another voice, calm and cold, echoed through the room. "They're learning faster than expected." Ryan tightened his fists. Whoever this person was, they already knew exactly what Mina had found. Part 3, The Man in the Dark. The room fell completely silent. Only the sound of slow footsteps echoed across the dusty floor. Mina pressed herself against the cold metal filing cabinet, barely daring to breathe. Beside her, Hana covered her mouth with trembling hands. Ryan carefully peeked through a narrow gap between the shelves. A tall figure dressed in black stepped into room A17. A hood concealed the person's face. Black leather gloves covered both hands. The beam from a powerful flashlight swept slowly across the room. Every corner, every cabinet, every box. Searching. The stranger stopped in front of the open confidential drawer. For several long seconds, he simply stared at it. Then he spoke into a tiny earpiece hidden beneath his hood. "They found the archive." A distorted voice answered immediately. "Did they take anything?" The stranger looked down at the empty folder labeled Project ASTER. A long pause followed. "Yes." Another silence. Then the voice replied coldly, "Recover it. If they refuse." The sentence stopped. No further explanation was needed. Ryan clenched his fists. He slowly reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone. The screen remained dark. No signal. He frowned. Just moments ago, he had full reception. Now, nothing. Someone was blocking every connection inside the room. He quietly whispered, "We're trapped." Mina's heartbeat pounded in her ears. She carefully tightened the straps of her backpack. Inside, the old photograph, the damaged document, the only remaining evidence of Project ASTER. If the stranger found them, everything Ethan had risked would be lost. The mysterious man continued searching. He opened cabinet after cabinet, pulled out every drawer, scattered faded documents across the dusty floor, growing more impatient each second. Finally, he stopped. His flashlight landed on a set of fresh footprints leading toward the back of the archive. He slowly smiled. "They're still here." Ryan looked toward Mina. Without speaking, he raised 3 fingers. 3. 1. Ryan suddenly grabbed an old metal cart and shoved it hard across the room. The rusty wheels screamed against the floor. The stranger instantly turned toward the noise. At the same moment, Ryan shouted, "Run!" Mina grabbed Hana's hand. The 3 of them burst from behind the shelves. The stranger reacted immediately. Stop. He lunged toward them. Ryan deliberately slammed another cabinet into his path. The heavy steel drawer crashed open. Thousands of old papers exploded into the air like a storm of white snow. The stranger stumbled just long enough. The delay gave them only seconds. They sprinted into the hallway. Their footsteps echoed through the abandoned building. Ryan looked back. Keep moving. The stranger emerged from room A17. He wasn't running. He walked calmly, confidently, as if he already knew they couldn't escape. The hallway suddenly split into two directions. Left or right? We go left, Hana shouted. No, Mina answered. I saw emergency stairs this way. Without thinking, Ryan trusted Mina. The three raced toward the old stairwell. Behind them, the stranger finally began running. His footsteps grew louder. Closer. Closer. They reached the staircase. Ryan pushed open the heavy emergency door. It wouldn't move. Locked. He shoved harder. Still locked. The stranger was only a few meters away now. Mina looked around desperately. Then she noticed a bright red emergency fire alarm mounted beside the door. Without hesitation, she smashed the glass with her elbow. The alarm erupted throughout the building. Beep! Red emergency lights flashed across every hallway. Automatic magnetic locks released throughout the old building. The stairwell door clicked open. Ryan pulled it wide. Go. The three of them raced down the stairs 2 steps at a time. Above them, the stranger reached the doorway. He stopped. Instead of following, he watched them disappear. Then he quietly spoke into his earpiece. They escaped. The distorted voice answered, Did they recover the file? I couldn't confirm. A pause. Then the voice said something unexpected. Good. The stranger frowned. Good? We wanted them to find it. Outside the abandoned building, teachers and security guards rushed toward the blaring fire alarm. Students gathered across the courtyard, confused by the sudden evacuation. Ryan, Mina, and Hana blended into the growing crowd. All three struggled to catch their breath. No one noticed they had just escaped from room A17. As emergency staff searched the old building, Principal Kim arrived with remarkable speed. Too fast. Much faster than anyone else. She looked toward the abandoned east wing. Her eyes settled on Mina. Only for a moment. But Mina noticed. Principal Kim wasn't checking whether students were safe. She was checking whether Mina still had something. A security officer approached Principal Kim. We searched the building. No one's inside. Principal Kim remained silent. She glanced once more toward Mina's backpack, then calmly replied, Lock the archive. No one enters that building again. The officer nodded. Yes. As the crowd slowly dispersed, Ryan turned toward Mina. Show me. Mina unzipped her backpack with trembling hands. The photograph was still there. The faded document remained untouched. But something else had appeared. Something none of them had seen before. A small white envelope. It hadn't been there inside room A17. Someone had slipped it into Mina's backpack during the chase. There was no name. No stamp. Only 4 words written in neat black handwriting. Don't trust Ryan. The three of them stared at the envelope in complete silence. Ryan looked genuinely shocked. I swear. I've never seen that before. Mina looked from the envelope to Ryan's face. For the first time since arriving at Westbridge High, She didn't know who she could trust, ending the name on the list. The crowd slowly returned to normal after the fire alarm. Teachers guided students back toward the main building. Security officers sealed off the abandoned East Wing with yellow tape. Officially, the school announced it had been a false alarm. Unofficially, everyone knew something strange had happened. Mina, Ryan, and Hana gathered beneath an old oak tree at the edge of the football field. None of them spoke for several moments. The white envelope rested on the bench between them. 4 words stared back at them. Don't trust Ryan. Ryan finally broke the silence. You don't actually believe that, do you? Mina looked down. I don't know what to believe anymore. Ryan nodded slowly. I understand. If I were you, I'd probably question everyone too. Hana carefully picked up the envelope. There isn't any signature. No fingerprints. Nothing. Ryan frowned. Someone wanted us to fight each other. And they're succeeding. Mina slipped the envelope back into her backpack. I don't think the message matters. Ryan looked surprised. What do you mean? I think whoever left it wanted us distracted. She pulled out the faded photograph they had recovered from room A17. The real answer is still this. The 3 of them studied the picture once again. A younger Principal Kim, Mina's father, the unidentified man whose face had been scratched away, and in the background, a little girl playing beside a stone fountain. Hana suddenly leaned closer. Wait! She pointed toward the corner of the photograph. Zoom in. Ryan opened his phone camera and enlarged the image. The quality became blurry, but one tiny detail remained visible. The little girl wore a silver bracelet, a bracelet shaped like a star. Mina froze. Slowly, she reached into her jacket pocket. She removed the small silver bracelet she had worn since childhood. A bracelet her mother had always told her never to lose. The design was identical. Every tiny detail matched, even the small star charm. Silence filled the air. Hana whispered, Mina, that's the same bracelet. Mina's hands began to shake. I've worn this since I was 5. My mother said. My father gave it to me. Ryan looked from the bracelet to the little girl in the photograph, then back again. His face turned pale. I don't think that's just any little girl. That evening, back at home, Mina placed the photograph beside the old wooden box her father had left behind. She carefully compared the bracelet with the image one more time. There was no doubt. The little girl in the photograph was wearing the exact same bracelet. Her father had been hiding something. Not just from the school. From her. Just as Mina reached for the wooden box, her phone rang. Unknown number. She hesitated, then answered. For several seconds, only silence. Then a calm male voice spoke. You opened room A17. Mina's heart skipped a beat. Who are you? You've already seen the photograph. You're asking the wrong questions. Mina stood up. What do you mean? You shouldn't be asking who attacked you. You should be asking why your father brought you to Westbridge. The call ended. Across the city, inside a luxurious penthouse office, Jisu's father stood looking out over the skyline. A man in a dark suit entered quietly. They found the archive. Jisu's father remained silent. And the girl. She has the photograph. For the first time, a faint smile appeared on his face. So, it finally begins. The man looked confused. Should we recover the evidence? Jisu's father slowly shook his head. No. If we take it now, she'll never lead us to the last piece. Deep beneath Westbridge High, far below the abandoned archive, a hidden elevator descended into an underground research facility. Rows of old computers flickered in the darkness. Dozens of filing cabinets lined the concrete walls. One cabinet slowly opened. Inside were hundreds of student records. Every folder carried a red stamp, Project ASTER. A gloved hand pulled out one file. Unlike the others, this folder contained a photograph of Mina, taken only 3 days earlier. On the front cover, beneath her name, were chilling words typed in bold black letters. Subject has returned. The figure quietly closed the file, then spoke into the darkness. Begin Phase 2.